So yeah, God's given me a lot of grace in the people that have had a discipleship influence on me in my life. The first person I honestly think of, maybe this would surprise this person, but the first person that I can think of who was most immediately and maybe most formationally influential in my life was my mom. For me, like seeing my mom daily model, prayer, Bible reading, to regularly meet with other believers for worship, that was really formative. I don't remember her formally ever sitting us down for Bible lessons. I don't remember her ever formally, trying to take time to teach us, necessarily, like a teacher would, or like giving us lessons. But she just had this daily in and out modeling of prayer and communion with the Lord, and then regularly meeting with other believers for worship. And of course, she'd make us come along for that. And so, the Lord did his work through that. Plus, she made me read Narnia, before I was an adolescent. And so, as I was becoming a man, she made me. It was required. She made me read Narnia, and that's good for anyone's discipleship. People who are discipling other people should make them read Narnia, the Narnia books. So that's one. And then the next person I think of is my friend Howie, and Howie has kind of been a bit of an older brother to me. And what sticks out in my mind with Howie is just how he was somebody in my life that he taught me that the Bible is really sufficient to explain itself. That I really needed to know why I believed what I believed. That I couldn't just believe what I believed because my mom believed it. That I had to believe what I believed because I really believed it and I knew why I believed it, and that the answers really were in the Bible. And so I just think of, I can't even think of how many times Howie would take me to the scriptures and show me how gloriously sufficient the scriptures were to answer my questions and to explain itself. That I didn't need some lofty and exalted interpreter, to explain the word to me. That the Holy Spirit was able to open my eyes to what the scriptures was doing to explain itself. And those lessons and that experience was invaluable to me. Plus, it was pretty apparent to me very quickly with him and his whole family that they loved me and were committed to me, and they treated me like one of their own. And so there was this really kind of family-oriented relationship with them that was the context of a lot of those conversations, and laid the groundwork for me to have an open heart to that. So that's another one. But another is my friend Paul Veal, who is also a pastor, and we worked together at the church I came from in South Dakota. And when I think of Paul, I just think of somebody. I think of Paul and I think, well, here's a Christian I want to be like. I want to be like this guy. I can't, next to Jesus, I can't think of many people that I know that love the church as much as Paul Veal. Paul had a real talent for just calling me out on my bad attitudes and calling them what they were, and because I wanted to be like Paul, I wanted to not have such a bad attitude. And Paul is also one of those guys too, where he's one of the people that is in my life that I've seen most excited about finding things in the Bible he'd never noticed before. So his enthusiasm for the word, his love for the church, has really shaped my life and my character. And then the probably the last most significant one I can think of is my mentor from South Dakota, Chris Gorman. And Chris stands out to me as somebody who's just a real model of humility. He'd probably be embarrassed if he watches this, because he knows he's not perfect, and he knows the pride of his own heart. But Chris really is a model of humility, because when he started the church that he planted in South Dakota, from day one it was a commitment of this church to train other pastors, and to train other pastors in the context of ministry. And what that meant was a lot of young know-it-all punks, were coming into the ministry under him, and he had to put up with a lot of youthful arrogance from me and from the others, and he did, right? Like he bared with us, and he was patient with us, and he endured our nonsense and our hotheads, and he never looked down on us, and he never condescended, and he listened to us, and he would learn from us, and so just to see that Holy Spirit humility in somebody like that was just doing life, with me all those years, was very influential as well. And that was discipleship. These are the people that God put in my life to multiply in me, what God had done in them, and I think it's illustrative of how your discipleship relationships are going to take all kinds of different molds, and they're going to come in different seasons of life, and there's no programmatic mold that this has to fit in. This is one or two people doing spiritual good for another person who's going to go and do that same thing that's been done for them in somebody else's life.